maximize them. Now, a number of you are setting with your saddles entirely too low, 10, 15 degrees too low. How low, how high does the saddle go? It's based almost entirely on hamstring flexibility. We know there are other factors involved too. But hamstring flexibility is a big part of it. So it's a very good idea to have good hamstring flexibility. Some of you I know are sitting at 60 plus degrees. But when you're sitting that low, there's no way you can access the gluteals. Gluteals are your biggest, most powerful muscles. Don't you want to use them? Why would you not want to use those muscles? Well, a lot of people get into a cushioned, easy chair position, and they're comfortable there. Well, if you can retrain your body to be comfortable in a higher, more effective power leveraging position. What we like, blind. What we like, we like 38 to 40 degrees. Well, that's what that looks like. All right. When you're sitting at 38 to 40 degrees, you have optimal use of your biggest muscles. On the other hand, if you're sitting at 60 degrees, which looks like that, they're not even in the equation. They don't work. They basically just cycle through without actually being fired. So Graham has about 42 degrees, which I'm sure is pretty close to his optimal level. Plum, we didn't check, but we can easily look at that. We already determined the foot issue. What else do you want to look at? When everything else is arrived at, finally, the last part of the equation is the handlebars, the brake position. I don't like these. I've already made that clear. They're too low, in my opinion. And the stem length. Stem length is the last consideration in effective fitting. And essentially what it needs to be is a position that allows this to take place. That is what you want to look like. Flat back, I don't know all of us can do that, but he works on his core, we know that, so I think Graham's prime, in fact, I know he isn't able to train because of the weather back there, but what he has is an extraordinary amount of core strength, and he uses that to his best advantage, and he's got a good setup. So in that respect, he and I are very, very similar, and that I try to be as efficient as possible without wasting a single bit of energy. And from what I can tell, not all of you have mastered that yet. You need a lot more work on it. Other problems that I saw a lot of splayed knees. I think we've made it very clear that costs you huge amounts of power.
And we were talking about splayed knees being a function of tight IT bands.
Primarily, tight IT bands, tight hip rotators. That's the main ingredient. Now, I also see just the opposite. I see a lot of women, especially, pedaling with the knee in, actually scraping the top tube. That is caused almost entirely by tight adductors, actinium, bacillus. When these guys tighten up, the knees track wrong. You pull the knee out, you have a patella tracking disorder, very common, especially among women. What do you do about it? You have to address it from a perspective of stabilization. I talked about that earlier. VMO is your primary knee stabilizer. The hamstring is also a tertiary stabilizer. Adductors are part of that group. Those are the muscles that need to be focused on. So every individual is different, and that's why it's impossible to just broadly say that's the way a setup should be done. Coach Al?
John, just to add one element to that, what I found in my experience in working with athletes is very often, because everything we're doing is in a sagittal plane, that sometimes the external rotators of the hip weaken because they're not used. One of the things that attracted me to Graham's program was lateral squats and other things that get us into the frontal and the transverse plane. glute medius is really what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
I think strengthening that allows everything to be more balanced in the hip.
Thank you, Al.
And I have a couple of exercises that I could show the group
I
that
would
would do
very
that.
much like to see those. I have some of my own, I want to see yours. The glute med is an extremely important part of the cycling equation because it's your primary stabilizer of the low back. So if the quadratus lumborum starts to go out, extremely common problem with master cyclists, then the main stabilizer is the glute med. So I'll be very interested in seeing what Al has there because it's just vital that we work, I think, daily on core and also areas like the gluteus medius, which are part of that back stabilization. And I almost virtually every master's rider who's training a lot, that is more than 3 or 4 times a week, complains of this problem. So it's so common that we have developed our own protocol for trying to fix it. Yes.
What about flat feet?
Flat feet. Well, actually, it's not going to affect your power stroke that much. It's more, flat feet probably would be more problematic for running. But we can put an insert, we can use an orthotic. I don't particularly like orthotics, but they can be used effectively with flat feet. The main thing we're looking for, because of the huge amount of stability in a modern shoe, is a flat plane on the foot. So if your foot's flat, it's probably going to affect the saddle height. I happen to have just the opposite. I've got an extremely high arch. But I still have decided that the best approach to that is to just get a flat foot, wide cue, and correct any varus or valgus. So the way we correct that is very much like we do any other foot issue.
John?